Solving problems with rational numbers, lesson 9. So we're going to use all four operations again with signed numbers, solve some problems. Today's I can represent situations with expressions that include rational numbers, and I can solve problems using the four operations with rational numbers. So make sure you have today's date, your I can's page number, and you are ready to go on. All right, let's do a little bit of looking at some review here with equations. So which of these does not belong? Well, you can make the argument that this one doesn't belong because the rest of these have multiplication. You could make the argument that this one doesn't belong because it doesn't have an x in it. What else could we do here? Let's see. This would have a negative number for the missing number. This would have a negative number for the missing number, and this would have a negative number for missing number because these are both positive, but your final answer is a negative. And here, since this is a negative, this has to be a negative to make this a positive. This would have to be a positive here to make this work. These three all have whole number answers. You know, lots of different things. Again, the point with this is understanding how those signs tie into what's going on in each of the situations. Let's look at draining and filling a tank. Okay, so here we have a tank. It's being drained. There's a problem though. The sensor does not start working until sometime into the draining process. The sensor starts its recording at 0 time when there are 770 liters in the tank. All right. So, given that the tank empties at a constant rate of 14 liters per minute, let's see if we can finish this out. So, we know we have to do the 770 plus whatever the time is times negative 14, and that's how we get our total here. So for here, we have 5 times the negative 14 which is 70, negative 70, in fact, which gives us 700. What about this one? Yeah, so you should have done 770 plus 10 times the negative 14. 10 times negative 14 is negative 140. So our final answer here should have been 630 liters. Let's do a couple others here. What about after 3 minutes? Negative 3 minutes. Remember that negative in this situation would be before the 0 time, right? So this is 3 minutes before the sensor kicks in. Yeah, so in this situation, we would have 42 added, which would give us 812. And the reason why this is that thinking about it, that negative in this situation means that this is 3 minutes before the sensor kicked in, because remember we said that 0 was when the sensor kicked in. How about negative 5 minutes? Should be more than negative 3, right? Okay. So negative 5 times negative 14 gives us positive 70. Add that to there. Should have had 840 liters before the sensor turned on. What about here? If the sensor started working 15 minutes after the draining process started out, how much water was in the tank to begin with? Well, if we go back 15 minutes before, we know that it's a 14 liters per minute. Yeah, we should have ended up with 980 liters, because there were 210 liters that had leaked out in that 15 minutes. Because going with 14 liters per minute times 15 minutes gives us 210. And again, these are both negative because it's draining out 14 liters per minute, and this is 15 minutes before that zero time. Let's talk about electricity. So, utility company charges 12 cents per kilowatt hour for energy a customer uses, and they give a credit of 25 thousandths, or 2 5/10 cents, or 25 thousandths dollars. For every kilowatt hour of electricity the customer generates and that they don't use themselves. So here, you got a utility company that charges 12, all those things we just said. If a customer has charged $82.04 for what they used, and they got a credit of $4.10, what's their final bill? Yeah, you're adding these together, right? You're adding a negative, or you're subtracting that as a positive. Either one will work just fine. Okay, so you end up with $77.84. Remember that. You can do that with any signed numbers. You can, in a situation here where you've got a subtraction, you can subtract, and then whichever one's the greater between the two values is the sign that you use. All right, let's look at another one here. So, how many kilowatt hours did they use? Well, if we think about it, they are charged $82.04, and that's after you multiply the amount of kilowatt hours by 12 cents. So if you take that $82.04 and divide it by 12, you're going to end up with right about 684 kilowatt hours, right? And you can prove that by taking the 684, multiplying it by 12 hundredths. Oops. That's 4. Yeah, and the thing to remember here is that this is about. So when they divided this out, they just went to the nearest whole number with it, which you can see makes a little bit difference here, right? By the same token, we can figure out how much they actually generated. If you think about that negative 410 that they got credited and divide it by a negative, or by the negative 25 thousandths, that would end up giving you 164 kilowatt hours that they generated. So, they obviously used more than they generated, but they did get some back in it. See if you can figure this one out. Yep, there's a lot here, right? These two multiplied together make negative 60. These two multiplied together make 60. These two together make 60. 2 times 3 is 6 times 10 is 60. Now, remember that order of operations, you do all your multiplication first, then you add or subtract. Well, negative 60 plus a positive 60 gives us 0. 0 plus 60 is 60. And then 60 minus 60 is 0. So this whole thing is, actually worth 0. And if you think about it, you can see how that ends up working. And they just rewrite all the numbers so that they're using the same, factors of 60 in every situation. But then by using a negative and subtraction, those counterbalance the positives that we get. And they did to find positives, except for here, which just used positive multiply, they used 2 negatives multiplied together. All right, so we looked at sign numbers and representing in different situations. What did the positive and the negative mean when we were talking about the water tank? Yeah, so water added to the tank would have been positive. The negative, which was mostly what we talked about there, was the draining. What about the price of the electricity? Yeah, positives and the negatives. Yeah, positive was how much the customer got back in credit, while the negative was how much they owed as far as the rates that they were charged. Okay. Yeah. So, wait, I think I said that backwards. The positive was how much the customer owed the company. The negative is what the company owed the customer because of creating their own electricity. So, all right. Well, I think we are good to go. Ready for some practice. Thanks for watching.